When it comes to safety, sometimes the things we fear the least can prove to be the most deadly. I'm William Shatner. Tonight on Rescue 911, true stories of courageous people whose love and dedication makes a difference in our lives. We begin on August 10th, 1991, in the suburbs of Cincinnati, Ohio, where Connie Allen and her husband, John, were doing chores.
It was Saturday afternoon. We were having company the next day, and I wanted the yard to look beautiful. So I asked John to trim the hedges. They were old hedge trimmers, and it was falling apart, but it still worked, so he just thought he'd just use them real fast. All of a sudden I heard a groan, so I ran over and I touched his back and just kind of fell over.
John!
He wouldn't respond.
John, wake up!
His lips were turning blue, and I thought, he's dead. But how did he die? I almost wanted to think it was a joke, but I knew that he wasn't going to wake up. I had taken CPR before, but I was just so distraught that I couldn't even think of following the correct steps. So I decided if I screamed as loud as I can, maybe somebody will hear us and help us.
A neighbor heard Connie's cries for help and called 911. From 2 doors away, Reed Bogart also rushed over to help.
It was very scary. He's laying there and he's blue. I assume he's dead. And I didn't even know why he was laying there. I don't know CPR, but I gave him mouth-to-mouth, hoping that I could do something.
Is he breathing?
No, he's not.
When I was pregnant, we were just so excited to be having a baby. And then we found out it was twins, and we were just ecstatic. It was going to be the light of John's life. That's all he could talk about. And then here, I'm thinking he's not even ever going to see him.
While trimming the hedges in his yard, 27-year-old John Allen suddenly collapsed. His wife Connie's screams brought a neighbor to the scene, but John was showing no signs of life.
Come on, John.
Lois Siegel, a registered nurse, and Sharon Burns had also heard Connie.
When we approached the backyard, we saw John lying on his back, and he looked terrible. He was so blue and so lifeless that I couldn't imagine anybody coming back from that point.
1, 2, come on, Joey. 4, 5.
She's 7 months pregnant. This is a time a lot of babies are born premature, especially twins. And you're thinking, she's going to go into labor if she doesn't calm down.
3, 4, 5. 1, 2.
And they kept telling me, you can't get this upset. You have to think about the babies. And at that point, I only wanted to see John wake up, because I didn't want those babies without John.
No pulse. 1, 2.
Within 8 minutes of the call, Cincinnati Fire Department rescue units arrived on the scene, led by Captain Earl Menkhouse.
When I first saw the victim, he was basically clinically dead.
What do you got, man?
No pulse, no respiration.
Even though CPR was being applied, apparently there was not much oxygen getting to the victim's brain because his face was extremely blue. So we immediately proceeded with hooking up the Heart Start 1000 semi-automatic defibrillator.
1005. Did anybody see 1001?
This Heart Start 1000 machine was put on loan to the city of Cincinnati as a test program because they believed that a lot more people could be saved by giving this piece of equipment to people that are on the scene first.
Machine's on. 1003. 1004.
Okay, stand clear.
1005.
Assessing. Hands off.
This machine showed that he was in ventricular fibrillation. The heart is like a bag of worms. It's beating against itself, and there is no rhythm to it. So the defibrillator called for a shock.
All clear? 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 Clear.
Shock delivered.
Check his respirations, Jim. I'll check his pulse.
I kept glancing at him thinking, he's just not coming around, and he should be by now.
I got a pulse, guys. All right.
All right.
He's barely breathing.
Deal.
All right, keep giving him some oxygen.
When they turned around, they said, his heart's beating and he's breathing on his own. It's like Christmas in July. It was the most wonderful feeling you've ever had. And then you just started praying that everything worked out all right.
John was taken to Providence Hospital in a coma, where he was examined by emergency physician Daniel Franklin.
Though we knew that CPR had been administered early, that he had been defibrillated early, there was a chance that he would not come out of the coma.
It was just a long wait for somebody to tell me John was going to be okay. But in the back of my head, I was worried that the response was going to be, sorry, Mrs. Allen. Sorry, there's nothing we can do for your husband. That was such a scary feeling. I kept trying to take his hand and put it onto my stomach and saying to John, feel that, Molly and Mary aren't in there, they need you. You have to wake up. And they said maybe if you give him a loud yell with a familiar voice, he'll wake up. So all night long I had been yelling, John, John. And this time I yelled, John. And all of a sudden he just sat up, turned his head from side to side, and he just smiled.
Say da 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 da. Say da da. You say it. Say da.
The heart failure John suffered when he was electrocuted left him with no permanent injuries.
I feel very lucky. This year alone, I've been blessed with twins, recovered from a near-fatal accident. You know, I'm the luckiest guy in the world.
Hey,
Mary Claire.
Hey, girl. What are you doing?
There's not a day that goes by now where I'll see John with the babies and I think they could have been without this. So grateful. I'm so happy for them that they get to have a daddy like John.
In looking into the accident, it was found that John had plugged a frayed hedge trimmer cord with a 3-pronged plug into a 2-pronged adapter, so it was not properly grounded. When he touched the chain link fence, he was severely electrocuted.
Had that 2-prong adapter not been on, when he got the shock, it would have immediately turned off.
Do you need something? Do you need a toy?
When John was in his coma, I was promising him that he could play golf whenever he wanted, that he'd never have to do yard work again.
God, no. She lied. It's funny because your perspective changes so dramatically when something like this happens, and you really focus on the important things in life, like your family and your kids, and that's what's important to me. But I've learned that yard work really stinks. You know, you just don't do it.
I'm so grateful to Reed and Sharon and Lois and that rescue squad. They saved John's life. That means everything to us, so therefore they mean everything to us. I had my first kiss done.
It wasn't me.
Next.
I've seen a lot of epileptic seizures, and you just think, you know, they're going to have this seizure and relax, and then